You all look glowing. That's nice. So this is all about the ultimate glow up. I really like that title, so I'm going to use it. They gave it to me and I like it. So for some weird reason, I can't see what I wrote. I don't know what that's about. Like my eyeballs are misbehaving today, so I may have to do this periodically. Um, you okay? No, no. With my eyeballs, I don't think that would help. Anyway, so we're really nearly through the year of the idea of being rising and growing higher and deeper, and a glow up must be showing up in our spirit as a result of that, because we're rising higher and going deeper. Now we spiritually glow as we spiritually grow. See, that's a spiritual law, right? And unfortunately, it's always true. See, that's the big problem with spiritual laws. They're always true. You won't get to glow if you don't grow. Just that simple. But what we're going to talk about today is how do we grow? Because if our intent and our product of this is to glow with the shine of spirit, then we got to know how to do that. So spiritually, Ernest Holmes said, the spark which burns at the center of our own soul is caught from the living and eternal flame of the spirit. Is that a good quote? That's great. And then he said, feeling is at the center of the universe and reflected through man's consciousness sheds its glow wherever thought travels. So that's the central glow of the mind of God within us that is always apparent when we're involved with it and in it. It's always there, but sometimes we choose to keep it under a bushel basket, right? Not let our light shine. A modern internet idea about glowing is from dictionary.com says a glow up is as an informal term for a positive physical transformation, typically one involving significant changes in appearance and style, and often growth in confidence and maturity. So I'm glowing pretty well in the changing in physical style and appearance, and I still have some continuous growth to do on the emotional side. A curiously compelling blend of drama and newsworthy stuff was the Glow wrestling attempt. Did you guys know about that? The Glorious Ladies of Wrestling? Yeah, the Glow group was made up of people whose names were all female wrestlers, grapplers, with names like Matilda the Hun, Jailbait, and Babe the farmer's daughter. I can just imagine what these women look like. Must have been wonderful. So I've given you lots of different viewpoints of glow, right? But we're going to try today to stick primarily with a spiritual look at it. So in ancient times, right? Almost every time they painted a holy person or a saint, what did they paint them with? A glow. It's like they had a little light bulb right behind their head that would shine out from behind them. So that was every artist's attempt to show the internal glow in an expressive external form. The idea of spiritual glow is as old as the hills. So physically, we use the word to glow primarily when we're talking about pregnant women and children. I mean, it always the woman gets pregnant, and in those first few months, she glows, or kids when they're excited and interested and uplifted, they glow. And I would like to glow. So I'm going to keep up with this work in hopes that you will all say to me one day, God, you are just glowing. Okay. So one of the ways that we could learn to grow and learn to glow would be to change what we say to ourselves and what we think. Okay, so for example, we could, instead of jumping to the wrong conclusions, we could jump for joy. Okay? Same jumping. We could, instead of kicking myself, I could kick up my heels, right? Instead of showing off, I could show up. Instead of taking things for granted, I could take leaps of faith. Instead of swimming against the tide, I could go with the flow. Or I could go with the glow. I'm going to go with the glow. So we being New Thought spiritual philosophers, we are all New Thought spiritual philosophers here, correct? If we are, then we would like to have a spiritual definition of this, and a New Thought definition would be more like this. Glowing is becoming more and more aware of my own true nature. The more you're aware of who you are, the more you glow. And who you are is, what I am, is the uncreated, immortal, infinite spiritual being expressing universal intelligence. That's who and what I am. Can you actually say that to yourself right now? You don't need to say it out loud, but say it internally to yourself. I am the uncreated, immortal, infinite expression of universal intelligence. You are the love of God made manifest. Okay? You can really believe that. Your glow is gonna expand. So knowing that I live in a free will universe and I am lovingly blessed with the power of choice. When you know that, that helps you to glow, doesn't it? I live and I'm blessed to live in a free will universe. I am blessed with the power of choice. What I choose, what I think, what I believe, what I feel, that's important. And when I know that, when I know it intrinsically in my being, I grow. So the key then to glowing would be to rigorously understand and apply the principles of science of mind. So it would really help if we knew the principles of science of mind and actually used them and lived them in our life. The 10-step, the 12-step program has a very interesting way of putting it. It says that if you practice, they're talking about the 12 steps, if you practice these principles as a way of life, right, these spiritual principles as a way of life, you'll be whole and complete. And that's what it is with these principles with science of mind. Practicing them as a way of life. Now, we call practicing them as a way of life, we call that embodying something. So our job is to learn how to embody these principles. Now, what is a principle? A principle, well, in the context of New Thought, a principle is a fundamental law underlying the working of all things. Like I was telling you a minute ago, a spiritual laws, no grow, no glow, right? Well, there are lots of spiritual laws and you can make them up as you go along, but as soon as you make them up, you'll know if they're universally true or not. And you'll know, my God, if this is always true, that's a spiritual law. So you want to identify the principles. You go through the science of mind and you say, I want to embody these principles. So if you study New Thought with this in mind, then as Ernest Holmes puts it, Ernest was the founder of this Science of Mind group long time ago. In the 30s, he started it all out. And he said, the source or cause from which all things result is the principle of mind. Principle of mind, your mind is created. It is the source or cause from which all things result. So when I know that, when I embody that in myself, then I know that everything I say, feel, think, and do is important. There are no unimportant aspects of life. There are no unimportant thoughts. There are no unimportant feelings. They are all valid and important to you because they create your experience of life. That creative That creative law is active whether you want it to be or whether you don't want it to be. It's always going to create your experience of life. So some of us believe that if we slot an idea in our head, that would be embodying it, but that's not it. No, we need to embody it in this way. Okay, I can read 1,000 books about love, right? I can ask you to love me. I can even profess to love you. But until I actually become love, I can't embody it. I have to become that principle. And when I become that principle, then I'm going to fully live it every moment of my life. Now, I'm not saying that I already do all this stuff. I'm in the same learning curve as everybody else is. We're all in process. We're all we're creatures in progress, I hope. And therefore we will learn to do all these things better and better and better as we progress through life. And really, that's why I'm up here. I'm up here because I want to progress. I'm up here because I want to learn spiritually. I do these speeches primarily because it causes me to think, makes me think, makes me feel, makes me question what I believe, because there are no unimportant beliefs. There are no unimportant thoughts. There are no unimportant feelings. So some of us believe that if we slot that idea, we got it, but no, you gotta embody it. So Holmes said, since it is the mind which first must come to see, know, and understand, we shall do well to look to the mind for answers to all of our problems. So the mind of God is the central point for the answer to all of our problems, and it's therefore the central point for the answer to all of our goodness, for all of our growing, and for all of our glowing. Your mind, the mind of God, which rests inside you, is critical to keep in mind all the time. So first, we're going to see, know, and understand spiritual principles. Then second, we're going to decide how to personally embody them, embody our own true nature. And then third, we're going to sit back, peel a grape, and enjoy the result. And that result is going to be glowing. Won't it? You could sit back, peel a grape, and glow. So by changing our consciousness, we change our lives. By changing our thinking, we change our lives. We use free will and the power of choice to change our consciousness, and that changes everything. So love rules through law. And you know what this law is. That's the subjective mind. The subjective law works like this. You think, feel, and believe something, and it turns that into your reality. So when you think, feel, and believe it, it's subjective. So it doesn't have a choice. Subjective mind does not choose which of your ideas it's going to put into your life. You choose. You don't even always know you're choosing, but in fact, you are. I choose all the time, and then I say, why in the world did I choose that? How could I possibly, what could have been going through my mind that I would choose this result? Not working out well. But once I get focused on the idea that spiritual law is a part of me, right? And it is using my thoughts, feelings, and belief to express my life, makes it much easier to grow spiritually. So think about this. This spiritual law is a great yes, 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 yes machine, right? And it's always going to produce what you think, feel, and believe. So think what a miserable time my poor yes, yes, yes machine has when I think dumb thoughts. Think about that. There's my poor yes, yes, yes machine sitting there saying, you really want to, I just picture, it's not really doing that. But what I'm trying to say is, if it had that option open to it, it would be saying, why are you thinking that? Why are you believing that? Why are you expressing that? This is not being the love of God, George. Okay, so the love of God is expressed through spiritual law. So these principles are always at work. The principles, the spiritual principles that we're going to grow with are always at work in our lives, and they are no respecters of persons. So it would be really smart to be aware of these spiritual principles, because there are the rules by which we live this spiritual life. the brilliant thing that Ernest Holmes did was he took the wisdom of the ages and compressed it into about 600 pages. Oh, well, he could have done a little bit better job of compression, but nonetheless, to get the wisdom of the ages down to that small a thing was pretty great. Anyway, so for example, spiritual law, physical law, gravity exists whether I believe in it or not, right? That's spiritual law. Gravity exists long before I knew gravity existed. Gravity is always there. Spiritual law is always there. Gravity's like this. If doesn't matter how valuable Aunt Millie's Ming vase is, if I drop it, it's still gonna go smash-o basho, and that's that. So it really behooves us to know what spiritual laws exist and how they operate in our lives. So we're here today at Spiritual Community embodying oneness. We're here today to glow if we can, much to our own abilities. And we're going to express and embody the peaceful, loving nature of spirit with each other. And that will cause us to glow up as a group. So today we're going to, after I get finished talking, we're going to practice glowing as much as possible. So we must each grow for ourselves. No one can grow for you. See, that's a harsh reality as well, too. You know, you would hope that somebody else could, carry the ball and help you out a bit, right? But they can't. Everybody has to grow for themselves. Each individual has to be their own spiritual authority. You have to make your decisions about what you believe about God. You have to make your decisions about what you believe about life. You have to decide what embodying a spiritual principle is. You have to decide which things are spiritual laws and which aren't. It's all up to you. You can't have anybody else do it for you. I have tried that. I tried to get Regina to, help me out there, but turns out I have to make all my own spiritual decisions. And that's true for emotional decisions as well. All of them are rest within our capability and only our capability. So understanding is critical to being the expression of spirit. And so we want to understand everything that's going on. And I missed a quote. I had a really good quote in here that she was slipped right by. Oh, there. Oh, yes. There's a beautiful quote from Hafiz, which says, "I wish I could show you the astonishing light of your own being." Okay. So I can echo that. I wish I could show you the astonishing light of your own being. And maybe other people will be able to notice it for you and point it out to you. But what I'm hoping is that you'll go home and you'll look in the mirror and you'll see God. You'll look straight at you and you'll see love. You'll look straight at you and you'll see beauty. That Hafiz, always like him. So I am a brilliantly luminous being, right? As are you. The only way to spiritually glow is to spiritually grow. We will agree on that to spiritual law. Okay, I want you to emblazon that on a huge piece of paper, put it up over your mirror. I'm going to grow so I can glow. Okay. And I close with a quote from the Mundaka Upanishad, which is an ancient Sanskrit Vedic text. And it says, "Self-luminous, ever present in the hearts of all, is the great being." So this stuff has been known forever. Every human community in the history of mankind has known these truths. And they've been buried over with dogma and sometimes stupidity. But foundational ideas like this are everywhere. So here you are listening to words from Vedic script. It's so far back in history that it's almost pre-recorded history, almost. So we glow because spirit glows within us.